Roger, Roger. Hello, Boston Sports Cards. Surprising to see you here this time of day. How are you? Syntax Queen, hello. Network Bib, hello. How are you doing, sir? Voldy, what's up? Boston Sports Cards W, Steven. Thanks, man. How's life? How are things going in your world, man? Let's see. Syntax. Are we working on anything today? We will, but not right now. It's actually going to be a. I think it's actually going to end up being a late night stream tonight because I have a meeting over my normal lunchtime. I have meetings from like 1:30 to 4 o'clock today. So I think I'll probably end up streaming this evening, maybe. Oh shoot, I'm supposed to work again from 7:30 to 8:30 tonight. Yeah, so it'll be a late stream probably. It'll probably be like 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, 9 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, and I'll probably stream for a couple hours, 2 or 3 hours. But so we will work on stuff, but just later in the day. Voldy, one viewer. What is happening? Oh. Voldy says, "Oh, finally." Maybe there was a lag. Boston, I'm good. Thanks. How are you? I'm good, man. Yeah. Life's good, you know. Like I always say, I'm healthy, kids are healthy, wife's healthy. It's all icing on the cake after that. Hello, Muhammad. How are you, man? I'm doing well. Just getting my day started with a little caffeine. Took a quick walk around the block. You know, done a couple productive hours of work already. Had my stand up. So yeah, it's good, man. Muhammad, I missed you. Well, hey, I'm back, man. I've been around. Where you been? Raphael, what are your thoughts about the moment that AI, robotics, and quantum computers reach the state of the art? I mean, from society POV. I think that would be nuts. And actually, I think AI is less of a concern at the moment. I think quantum computers are kind of the craziest thing to think about because so much of the modern world is based on current cryptographic standards for security that quantum computers would render basically obsolete. So that to me seems more like something to be concerned about. On the positive front, the robotics thing I think is very exciting. Like I would love to have a humanoid robot that I could have unload the dishes, take the trash out. You know what I mean? Like if you can sell me a robot that I can offload all those chores to, I will happily purchase it. You know what I mean? We're probably though a ways off from like whatever that moment is, Raphael. That's probably a ways from now. Boston, I'm sick today, so I didn't. Oh man, that sucks, dude. I'm sorry you're sick. Being sick is the worst, you know. I heard this thing the other day on a podcast that was like, you know, when you're healthy, you've got 99 problems, and when you're not healthy, you've got one problem, right? It's like your health is just such a big deal. You sometimes take it for granted, right? And then the days when you get real sick, you're like, damn, this really sucks. So I'm sorry, man. I hope you feel better soon. Layson. Bach. I don't know what you're talking about, Layson. Network, but why did you give me a timeout on Discord? Because you were being an annoying motherfucker, dude. I don't care what you say. You were harassing that dude in Discord. Like, he answered your question, and then you just asked him 3 or 4 more times. And he himself said that he didn't like that you kept asking him. So, I don't really give a shit what you think or how you think you were acting, but I thought it was annoying, and I think he thought it was annoying, so I just timed you out. Muhammad, I was searching you. Ah, well, I've been around, man. Uh, Typically I live stream like mid morning around this time, and then uh, mid afternoon for about an hour. Raphael, yeah, I totally agree. With the combination of these three would make all of us lazy as fuck and maybe unnecessary. I don't think it makes us unnecessary. I think it's just another evolution of like, it's just like another evolution of like, you know, people used to hand wash dishes back in the day. People who didn't have dishwashers, and lots of people still do that, right? And so like robotics is just another. It's just another evolution of like taking things off our plate that we probably never wanted there to begin with. Sapi, hello, bro. What are you doing? I'm just hanging out, man. I'm eating an orange, drinking some coffee, going through my emails, catching up on Slack messages. Those things you have to do at work that become a distraction from the real work. Muhammad, really missed you, bro. Well, that's good, dude. I'm glad that you're enjoying the content. I've been around though. I feel like you are the problem. You haven't been here. Dude, I love oranges so freaking much. Love them. Raphael, what do you do for a living? You look like a developer. I do not work as a developer as a living. I do development stuff in my free time as like a hobby. I mean, maybe one day I work as a developer, but currently I work as a quality engineer for a software company, which means I basically do manual and automated testing. And you can look at my LinkedIn here. My LinkedIn should pop up. There you go. I've had a very eclectic career. Done a lot of different things. But right now I get paid to either write tests that click, but I get paid to write code that clicks buttons on websites, or I do the clicking of said buttons myself. It's a pretty good gig. I mean, the software that we make is pretty complex, so it's actually pretty challenging. Even from an automated perspective, it's very challenging. Even from a manual testing perspective, though, it's very challenging. Because it's not like a task app. We don't just make like a simple little CRUD app or something like that. It's basically like a no-code platform, so it can be very complex. Raphael, oh, you're a QA. Nice. You are the number one enemy of developers. Demo. Yeah, I mean, honestly, though, like, I know that in the industry, there seems to be a little bit of a trope of, like, QA versus dev. But where I work, we actually have a really good working relationship. We kind of all work as one big team, and we all get along really well. And we all respect the fact that we all have a job to do. And at the end of the day, we're all marching towards the same goal, right? We want to put out high quality, high performance software that solves a problem and makes our customers happy and keeps our clients happy. And so yeah, I know that's not everybody's experience in tech, but I've been lucky enough to work someplace where it's not adversarial. And I think, in my opinion, having come from different industries and different background, I didn't come up in the software industry. The minute anything becomes adversarial between departments, like I was, for a long time, I worked in a manufacturing setting, and it's awful when things become adversarial, when operations and QA and R&D and management, when those people turn into tribes and they all, the only thing they care about is advancing their thing, bad stuff happens. Comma, okay, did you sneak into my drafts because you look... Nice, comma, good chat there. I don't have main character energy though. Like, I don't know. You could talk to my... I'm fairly humble dude. Like, I don't even... Like, I would stream even if there wasn't anyone here. Which I did do. Like, if you go back to January, beginning of February, there's streams where, like, it's just me in a room. So, I just, you know, I do this because I like it, but I don't ever expect anybody to treat me like a main character. Mikel said hi. Hello, Mikel? I think that's how you'd say that. Mikel, maybe? Hello, Abu. How are you? Good to see you, man. Abu, I've never actually looked at your profile picture. I like your profile picture. Is that actually you, man? That's a really good profile picture if that's actually you. Would you rather get your favorite job and only get paid enough money to live, or have a job that sucks but get paid loads of money? Yeah, I would want a job that sucks but I get paid loads of money, because what I would do is I would work whatever job until I made my nut, and then I would bail. You know? Like, say you get a job that pays you... Say you get a job you absolutely hate that pays you... Let's say it pays you $250,000 a year, $250,000 net, not gross, net, right? If you do it right, you work that job for, I don't know, 10 years. Let's say 10 years. You work that job for 10 years. You easily sock away $1 million. Put it in the S&P 500, let it ride. Like, you're set. So that's, yeah. I would pick the job that sucks that pays a load of money. Muhammad, I got first newborn girl. That's awesome, dude. Congratulations, Muhammad. That's awesome. My brother just recently told us that they're getting ready to have their second kid. So, congratulations, man. There's nothing better than having a new baby, man. What a blessing. So, congratulations, Mikhail. The second one. Yeah, I'm on the same page as you, Mikhail. The second one for sure. Raphael, I was just kidding. I was totally agree with you. I appreciate QA a lot, especially on these AI errors where developers ask for it to generate test suites without even checking the logical part of it. Making mutation tests even more important nowadays. Yeah, I mean, I'm always curious to hear about what other people's experiences with quality at their jobs, because I've been super surprised. There's just a huge spectrum of like quality, the type of quality programs and the level of sophistication of those quality programs at companies. Like, it's wild to me that some companies don't have any form of automated testing. It's all manual tested, which is wild. That's wild to me. Some people don't have a single unit test covering any of their code. That's wild. Abu, I am good. Yes, it's actually me. Nice. Well, it looks good, man. It's a good picture. Looking sharp. Raphael, by the way, I'm a developer. Nice, dude. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I don't know what makes you be considered a developer. Like, obviously, I've never been employed as a developer, but I can definitely build some shit, you know? Yeah, I feel like I'm actually interested because I feel like I have very strange hobbies. Like, I like to lift weights. Like, I'm very broy. Like, I grew up playing sports, lifting weights. I didn't grow up writing code and playing with computers and stuff. But in my adulthood, I found that I very much like to code and to build things. And so I always feel like it's very juxtaposition to have somebody who, like, yeah, I like to deadlift, but I also like to sit down and write a really sick for loop. CJ Hernandez. Yo, what's up, CJ? How are you? Raphael, awesome. At the end of the day, we are all writing code. You're right. You're right. Yeah, I mean, my favorite part about writing code is like the problem solving aspect of it. You know, thinking through a problem and trying to understand it, and like what's the best way to approach this. Which is also what I enjoyed the most about being a food scientist. I loved the challenge of developing products and figuring out the complexities of getting them onto the production line, and how are we going to scale this, and how are we going to run it faster. So, yeah. I mean, the meta skill, or the meta thing I like doing, is problem solving, I think. Learning and problem solving. Raphael, have you ever used Playwright? I have used Playwright. That's actually I'm the only one at my job that does automated testing. It's purely on me to do. And I worked up several POCs initially using Selenium, primarily because that's what a lot of our developers had prior experience with, and that's what they wanted to try first. And then I found Playwright. I can't remember how I found Playwright. That's somehow Playwright landed in my orbit, and once I tried it, I wrote like a very small POC test suite for our product, and I was like, I'm sold. Like, this is the only automation library people should be using nowadays. No more Selenium projects, no more Cypress projects. Just we should all go all in on Playwright. CJ, good. What about you? I am fantastic, CJ. You know, nothing to complain about. CJ, by the way, can you add me on Discord? Yeah, you can just do if you type !Discord in the chat, it'll give you the invite link, and you can jump on in, man. We'd love to have you. Network bit boy, it is hot in my room. I have run my server for some hours. That thing could heat up a whole house in the winter. Fair enough, man. Well, you live in a cold place, right? So can't hurt to have more heat. Abu, which tools is good for automatic testing? Abu, it depends on what you're. So like when I say automated testing, I typically think like that just means you've written tests that run programmatically. That could be unit test, that could be integration test, that could be end-to-end test. I know some people, when they say automation, they think end-to-end. They're thinking like UI, web app stuff like Playwright or Selenium or Cypress. If you're talking about that, if you're talking about automated testing from an end-to-end perspective through some sort of UI, some sort of web UI, then I would highly recommend Playwright. I wouldn't really pick any other technology if you're starting something. And even if you were already using something like Selenium or Cypress, I would strongly argue to start to migrate away from it, in my opinion. If you mean automated testing in a much more holistic sense, it's largely going to depend on what language you're working with, right? So like in JavaScript or TypeScript world, I really like Vitest. In .NET world, I really like XUnit is kind of my framework of choice over there in the .NET space. And those will take care of like Vitest, and XUnit will take care of your unit test needs and your integration test needs. Sans, you might have to find a couple extra libraries to help you out, like for integration testing or for unit testing, really. Or you could use it for unit or integration testing. I really like a .NET library called Mock HTTP, which is a pretty cool library. It's kind of like in the JavaScript world, the equivalent would be Mock Service Worker, if you guys have ever heard of that. That's a pretty baller library to do integration and unit testing with. What I found with the whole testing thing is it seems like a lot of developers don't write tests because of two things. They don't know how to, like they just never have done it before, so they don't know where to start, and it just slows them down, right? They have to take a step back to learn something, so it's a drag on their velocity, so they just don't do it. And then the other thing is they write code in such a way that they can't really test it effectively, right? They have too many inherent dependencies in their methods or their functions that they can't really figure out how to properly manage the dependencies and properly be able to unit test things, mock things out, stub things out, which I think is unfortunate. Abu, I'm talking about TypeScript. Abu, then I would highly look at Vitest. Get really good at Vitest. Check out Mock Service Worker. Mock Service Worker is wonderful when you're talking to like third-party services over HTTP, right? So if you're writing something that integrates with GitHub, or you're writing something that integrates with Stripe, when you do a unit test, you don't really actually want to make a call out to those things. Maybe even integration tests, you wouldn't want to make a call out to those things because you don't control them. So you can use something like Mock Service Worker to mock responses to your request to those services, which is pretty great. But Vitest is where I'd start. Get really good with Vitest. Mock Service Worker is a good one. I'm trying to think if there's anything else on the TypeScript side that I often use testing wise. That's really it. I mean, Vitest gives you the ability to stub. It gives you the ability to mock. And then you just have to think about how to write your code in such a way that you can actually test it, right? So like, don't call a function, right, directly with inside another function, right? That makes it really hard. Like, how are you gonna? I mean, I guess in JavaScript it's a little easier because you can mock the module that you've imported. So, but yeah, you just then at that point, like once you know how to use the test frameworks or the test runners and the test frameworks, then it's just about making sure you write your code in such a way that you can unit test it. Gareth, too much end-to-end and lacking of unit testing may cost more time and maybe money to assure the quality. My end-to-end scripts just took 4 hours to complete. Yeah, Gareth, I'm with you, man. I think everyone should have I'm more of like I know a lot of people will talk about like the test pyramid. I'm more like a test diamond guy, in my opinion. I think you should have a lot of unit tests that cover like core important business logic. You should have a lot of integration tests because I just feel like nowadays with a lot of the tools, it's much easier and it's much faster and much less of a headache to write those integration tests. And then you should have a small amount of end-to-end, because end-to-end is they're just very expensive, right? And like you said, they take a long time. It took you 4 hours to run your suite. So but yeah, I'm totally in agreement. Like, people should definitely sit down and write tests for their code. And a lot of times you are going to write as much, if not more, code to test the code you're actually going to ship into production. But damn, it sure does feel good when you have a suite of tests that give you a lot of confidence that when you made a change, you didn't just completely break user space. I think I've actually mentioned this on stream that like SQLite actually monetizes their test suite. So if you use SQLite, it's open source, obviously. You can use SQLite for free, but if you use it in like a critical piece of infrastructure, like I think, like if you use it in like avionics, and you want to have assurance about the performance of the SQLite and how it's integrated into your thing or whatever, you have to pay for their like complete test suite. Which is kind of crazy, right? Like, how many software programs have you ever heard of where the way they make money is not through selling the thing that they make, but they make money through selling the tests that they write for the thing they make, which is kind of wild. Saksham, I had became a fan of yours in the last 1 week. Nice, dude. Well, I appreciate you being a fan, man. That's very kind. Now I'm gonna start learning to code, bro. That's awesome, dude. You should definitely do it. I think even if Saksham, even if it's just for Like, maybe you don't even find that you really like it. Maybe you just learn enough to be dangerous. But I think going through the exercise of learning to code, I think makes you a better thinker, if that makes sense. Like, I think it helps you be a better problem solver, have a clearer way of approaching a problem and thinking clearly about a problem. Whether or not you continue to code or code for a living, and that's why, like, I want both my boys. I have two sons, 9 and 7, and at some point I'm gonna make them learn how to. I'm gonna make them learn how to write code. I'm gonna sit them down in front of a terminal and be like, we're gonna learn some JavaScript today, and here's this program called Node, and it'll run the code you write, and here's a for loop, and here's a variable and whatnot. I just think it's whether or not you monetize the skill, right? It's kind of like a lot of things in school. Why do you learn a lot of the things you learn in school, right? It's not really about learning that thing. There's some other meta skill that you're learning. Sogo, I've been Steven's biggest fan since he started. Well, thank you, Sogo. I appreciate you, man. Good to see you're here too. Hope you're doing well. Saksham, I want to build apps. What should I learn? I would go to freecodecamp.org. Actually, here, let's make a command for that. Let's make a Nightbot command for that real quick. Let's see. Commands. Learn to code. You should try freecodecamp.org, I think is the website. That's where I would start, Shiksham. I would start at freecodecamp.org, and I would become good at JavaScript. And the reason why I say JavaScript, and I know people probably have differing opinions, like what should be people's first languages, but the reason I say JavaScript is it's friendly, right? It's dynamically typed. It's interpreted. It is the native language of your browser, right? And when you want to build apps and put them out for other people to use, nothing is standing between you and getting that app out into people's hands when you use the web as your platform versus something like a mobile app, right? Where you're going to have to go through app store approvals. And then the other benefit of learning JavaScript is it works on a server, right? So you can learn how to build backends, and you can write console applications and write scripts to move data around and all kinds of stuff. So that's why I say JavaScript. I mean, JavaScript definitely has its quirks, right? It can be strange in certain situations, but it's very friendly and easy to get to know, and you can use it in a lot of different places. So that's where I would start. What's up, Bacon? How are you? So yeah, I added a new command here. Let's see. Learn to code. And that should print out Free Code Camp. That's what I'm hoping. There you go. There you go. Yeah, that works. Abu Dev. Finally my task is completed. Now I can enjoy the weekend. QA engineer. I just find a bug. I mean, that's the way it goes, I mean that, it's funny because, well, what's funny about that whole scenario is that by definition is the work, right? So it's like nobody should be bothered by that. It's like that is exactly what our jobs are, right? And if you've ever built an app before, you know what it feels like to spend a week working on something, and you're so close to this thing that you sort of lose the forest for the trees. And so it's nice to be able to at least one other person hand your thing off to somebody else and see how they interact with it and see how they use it. Because 9 times out of 10, you completely, like, you had the blinders on because you were working on something so closely that you just forgot, right? It's an honest mistake. Saksham, great thing. Yeah, of course, man. That's where I would start. I mean, I could give you more input, but I think, like, when you're just getting started and you never have done it before, you need a helpful kind of structured curriculum that takes you from 0 to 1. Once you have done that curriculum, once you've gone through and kind of had somebody hold your hand through stuff, then you can start adventuring out, right? Starting to build your own projects, think about problems you want to solve. That's kind of the next step. Oh, and the other piece of advice I'll give you when you're learning to code is do a little bit every day. You can't boil the ocean in a day, right? So don't try to do the whole, like, spend 4 hours to learn JavaScript, right? Don't do that. Just do a little bit every day, and in a period of time, you'll start to have a new skill. What's up, Butterscotch? How are you? Did you guys see on? I saw this thing on Twitter. Let me see if I can play it for you. Do you guys know who Uncle Bob is? Do any of you guys know who Uncle Bob is? Robert C. Martin. Y'all know who he is? Butterscotch. Yep. Yeah. So I was okay. So someone else does. So I mean, Uncle Bob is great. Like, I don't have anything against him. He's obviously a very opinionated man, and rightfully so, and knows a lot about a lot of things. What I found crazy was I saw on Twitter today a video of him. I think it's on his X. If you go to him on Twitter, let me see if I can find the post. But he was basically talking about how, and it kind of made sense. He was basically talking about how he's not a fan of using SQL because the SQL syntax was originally meant to be used by people typing on teletypes. Let me see if I can play this for y'all. Like, you guys just tell me. I kind of see what he's saying, but I've never heard anybody say they weren't a fan of SQL before, because, like, it's so ubiquitous that everybody uses it. All right, one sec. That guy who wrote a book on clean code, is that him? Yeah, that's him. All right, so listen to this. This is pretty good, I think.
Inside of a SQL database when it receives a SQL string.
Also, I'm gonna restart this, but also just he does talk a little funny, I guess you might say. I mean, he's a person. He definitely has a big personality. Let me see if I can turn this up just a little bit. Watch your ears.
What is it that you think happens inside of a SQL database when it receives a SQL string? Well, it compiles it down into an internal representation, a data representation, and then uses a set of function calls to interpret that data representation to access the data, period. And that data representation and those function calls are what we programmers should be using to access data. We should not be using some bloated old arcane syntax invented 50 years ago for people typing at a teletype.
So I had never heard anybody express that before. So basically, he's saying, like, I mean, he's basically saying people shouldn't be using raw SQL, to to call into things. He's basically saying we should use whatever the actual database uses to represent that SQL query that gets passed in. Which I don't know, that was, I don't know, I never heard anybody express it like that. So I think it kind of makes sense. I guess it's also I think it's another argument for why ORMs. Everyone should probably be using an ORM rather than writing raw SQL. But then he would probably say, but under the hood, you're still writing raw SQL, right? The ORM just translates your code into SQL. So he would probably like advocate for going like a layer deeper where you don't use an ORM, you just use exactly whatever the database engine is using to represent the SQL query. It's very fascinating. I just heard that today and was like, I wonder what other people think about this. See, Abu, you started learning from Free Code Camp, but how you master the JavaScript? Is there any book, playlist, doc that helps you master Java? I wouldn't say I'm a master of JavaScript, Abu. I wouldn't say I'm a master of any of the languages I write. I would say I'm proficient in JavaScript, proficient in TypeScript. I think the only way you actually become a master of JavaScript is you probably have to know a lot about the internals. You're probably down at a very, very low layer of understanding how the runtimes are implemented, how the actual JavaScript is interpreted by the runtimes, and how that's translated to, actual assembly or instructions for whatever processor you're, like, I think that's the level of mastery, and I'm not really interested in that level of mastery, right? I think the way you continue to get better at a particular language is you're just building with it a lot. You're using it a lot. It's the same way someone who's a woodworker gets really good at working with their tools. They build a lot of things. A welder welds a lot of things. A pipe fitter fits a lot of pipes. I think if you want to be an excellent JavaScript developer, you build a lot of things with JavaScript, and that helps you continually refine your skills and add to your skill set. That would be my advice. I do have a book, Abu. I do have a book to give you that I thought was very, very good. It's called Eloquent JavaScript, and it's completely free. It's written by the guy who built the CodeMirror library. If you've ever used CodeMirror, it's like a really nice extensible editor for the browser. This was a really good book, I felt like. Very well done. Obviously, I think you say his name Margin. I don't know how to actually pronounce his first name. He's obviously very good at JavaScript, and I really enjoyed that book. It's a really good book. Hockey, you get better control with an ORM apparently. Yeah, I think ORMs are great. Like, I'd much rather work with an ORM than write raw SQL. I think what Uncle Bob is saying there makes sense to me. It's interesting. I heard anybody express that idea before. Bacon, a great JavaScript book would be the new SCIMP book from MIT. I've never heard of that book. Let me go look that up real quick. SCIP. Structure and Interpretation of Computer Programs. That seems deep. That seems very deep. Hello, Loaf. How are you doing, Loaf? Good to see you. Loaf hopped in before stupid programming lessons. I don't know. Are programming lessons stupid, man? Abu, thanks for your recommendation. Of course, man. I think, yeah, I mean, there's tons of great resources out there. There's another one. What's the other one? Crap. I think the author's name is Kyle, and it has something to do with JavaScript. So let me just search for that. Yeah, You Don't Know JS is another good one. You Don't Know JS. It's pretty good. But I think after a certain point, just studying the language isn't helpful enough. You have to start building lots of things to put yourself in a lot of different scenarios that forces you to reach for things in the language that you wouldn't normally reach for, right? Kind of like yesterday, if anybody was here yesterday, where I was trying to work with the Discord gateway API, and that requires you to work with WebSockets. And I was working in .NET, and I have never actually worked with the WebSocket client in .NET. I've worked with SignalR before. I've worked with WebSockets before with other pieces of technology, but I've never actually used the WebSocket client in .NET. And so that's a perfect example of where the more you build projects, the more you build different things, the more it forces you in to exposing yourself to things that you might have not otherwise tried or used before. Hockey, just curious what OS you use. I use Windows, which I hope doesn't ruin your opinion of me. People seem to have strong feelings about the fact that I use Windows. Bacon, it's a great book. But I guess what you're meaning is like it'll just help you have a better understanding, right? A better mental model of what the heck you're doing when you're writing JavaScript. God, it's kind of pricey, $53. Yeesh, dude. I mean, I know people's knowledge is valuable. It's just whenever I see books that are $50, I'm like, I'm back in college again. Loaf, my mom makes me take them. I can learn easier alone. Well, I mean, embrace it, Loaf. Embrace it. If you're going to have to do it anyways, just embrace it, right? Don't resist it. Just embrace the suck and try to get the most out of it that you can. I'm definitely going to make my kids take some programming lessons, but they're going to be for me. Hockey, it doesn't. Just got Arch. I kind of love it, but kind of miss the ease of Windows too. Yeah, Hockey, I think that's where it's like in most things in life, it's all trade-offs, right? It's like one thing's better at this, one thing's better for this reason. It's, anybody who ever comes to you and says something is all good, right? Or something is all bad is probably not being completely intellectually honest about that thing. Yes, it's more about understanding programs than JavaScript itself. It just happens to be taught in JavaScript. It's the MIT CS program. Okay, interesting. So that actually piques my interest even more, Bacon, that it's taught through JavaScript. So I will definitely. Do you have a link, Bacon? Do you have a link to the lecture series by chance? I'm sure I could find it, but if you know exactly where it is, I would love for you to share it because that sounds like something I should. It sounds like I should better myself. Bacon, it used to be taught in Lisp. Ugh, what a bad. Lisp code doesn't even look like code, honestly, to me. It looks like, what does it look like? It looks like very cryptic. It looks like very cryptic scrawls, like, to me. But that's probably just because I don't know Lisp, but I think actually Uncle Bob prefers Lisp. Or no, he likes Clojure. But Clojure is like Lisp, but it runs on the JVM, I think. Hello, Ducky Dev. How are you? Sorry, I missed your. I saw your message earlier and I forgot to say hello. How are you doing? Did you ever get your MCP working? Missed a couple of streams. Yes, the MCP is working. Actually, that's what I'll probably do this evening when I stream. I was planning to stream at lunch, but I realized I have a meeting at one. I have meetings from 1:30 to 4 today, so I'll probably my kids will be home by the time I get out of my meeting. So I'll probably stream this evening. But that's probably what I'm gonna work on. So I have the MCP server working. I have all the tools written. I was working on adding test coverage. I think I have a few more tests to write. And then I need to do the documentation. And I think I was actually going to see if I could get GitHub Copilot to do the documentation for me, at least a first draft of it using agent mode. I thought that'd be kind of fun to try out agent mode on something else. So I might have it try to write me like a nice README, and then I'll just gonna publish it out to npm so that people can give it a whirl if they want to. Ducky Dev, I use Windows, not Arch. Why? I'm just a 10x developer. Yeah, I mean, I just feel comfortable with Windows, you know? Yeah, I feel comfortable with Windows. I mean, I'm getting more and more comfortable with Linux because I'm using that on my servers, my VPSs that I host stuff on. So I'm getting more comfortable with Linux. But yeah, Windows feels comfortable. I think my biggest thing with switching to a Linux daily driver is I don't want to be forced to build things from source to get them to work on my machine. Like that's just too much effort, right? So like if I want to use DaVinci Resolve, or if I want to use an Adobe product, or if I want to use like I want it to just any program I want to use, I want to just be able to easily pull it down and install it. I don't want to have to jump through 50 hoops to get it working. Shot sim. I'm sure. Oh, okay. You don't know exactly where it is. Let me see if I can find it then. Lectures. I was just I put the book in my Obsidian. Oh, they literally have a website for it. There we go. Yeah, they literally have a website. Is it old though? Man, these videos look really old. Oh, this is spring 2005. Yes, this that is old. No, all these lectures are super old. Even the ones on YouTube are super old. God, those are from 1986. Whew. That's wild. Wasn't even born yet when that guy started lecturing. Hockey, what's the use of tools if you don't use them? LLMs are kind of base, but so dumb at the same time. Maybe not dumb, but they have a narrow range of functionality. What's your take on recall? Do you trust they will actually grant the wish to opt out and not spy? Yeah, the Windows recall thing, that's sketch. They definitely shouldn't do that. And it was a very smart move to pull back on it after they announced it. And I'm really surprised that I would be surprised if there weren't developers or engineers or people within the company that did raise an issue and those people were silenced, you know? But yeah, that definitely is sketchy proposition. Yeah, Bacon, I can't find any modern lectures either. They all seem to be old. But maybe just get the new book and follow the old lectures and I'll be fine. Bacon, so many parentheses. Yes, that's why I say Lisp always looks like scribbles to me because it is like parens. Ducky Dev, they released it again. Oh, did they really? They released. I guess I missed that. Recall in Windows 11. But don't you have to enable it? Is it just enabled? Oh, you have to have a Copilot Plus PC, 40 tops of MPU. So I probably don't have this on any of the machines I currently have. Yeah, I wouldn't enable this myself. Nor would I buy a Copilot Plus PC. If you guys have heard me talk about AI, you'll know I think the I don't even use Copilot now as it stands, right? So like, yeah, I don't know. Not my cup of tea, but maybe for somebody else, right? I don't want to say no for somebody else. Maybe somebody else is getting a lot of value from it. Who uses yeah, I Copilot, yeah. I don't know who does, honestly. Um which is funny, which is honestly really funny because yeah, of all the AI products I use Copilot in my editor, I guess, right? But that's like the original Copilot. That's not like Windows Copilot. So I use Copilot in my editor, and then I use Claude, Gemini, and ChatGPT primarily in the browser. Like, and I don't even really go to Copilot in the browser, right? Like I know there's a Copilot web app now that's very pretty. They redid the UI and it looks very good. Um, but yeah, I would be interested to know if yeah, I don't know. I'd be interested to see those statistics, right? Like what is used more. But for Microsoft though, like Microsoft doesn't care, right? Copilot's not their business. Their business is the cloud, right? They want all these model providers to run inferences in their cloud. That's where their money is, right? That's what they care about. Yeah, I like VS Code a lot. I really think VS Code's a good editor. I mean, I know some people will shit on it. I think VS Code's a good editor. I think Writer's a good editor. I think Visual Studio's a great editor. IDE really. You know, I don't know. So people are so quick. People are so quick to shit on the other things that people build. You know, especially people. What's crazy that's actually the craziest thing about the dev community is developers are often the fastest people to critique things that other developers build. But yet, developers should have the greatest empathy to understand the level of effort and work that goes into building things, right? They should have the most compassion, the most empathy. But you don't see that reflected a whole lot, at least in the Discord online, which is weird to me. Do you think programming languages will at some point be all translatable to one language of choice, kind of like language translators now, or is it too complex for an easy translation? I mean, as it stands, I don't know how that would work. As it stands, I don't know how that would work. Because even now, people say, yeah, you can code with natural language because of LLMs now, but still, the LLM takes your natural language, converts it to a quote unquote high level language, right? Call that high level language C sharp, .NET, C sharp, F sharp, JavaScript, Python, pick your flavor. And then depending on the language, that language either gets compiled or it gets interpreted and then run in a even lower level language like assembly, right, into machine instruction. So I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know if you'll ever be able to translate between the languages, right? That's difficult because then you have to come up with a parser. You have to come up with tooling, right, that converts Python to whatever else, and you convert C to whatever else, and then every language has a different set of features, and those features don't perfectly map, right? Like that's the other day we looked at a TypeScript to Lua compiler on stream, right? And there's things even there, like there's certain TypeScript stuff that doesn't translate to Lua. So yeah, I don't know. I don't see that ever becoming a thing. I think what's more likely is maybe more platforms like .NET where you have a common runtime, and then maybe many languages share that common runtime, just like the JVM. I can see that maybe more likely. I would think the more likely occurrence, Hotkey, is like the more likely occurrence is LLMs get good enough to where you can ask it to write assembly. You can code in natural language and have it output assembly code, and then you take out all the middleman, all the middlemen. Razzie, that's random, man. That's a random comment. But thanks for stopping by. Yeah, it's not so much that the runtime is a problem. It's just the fact that every language is different, right? Has different features, and there's got to be some tool that would translate between those languages and their feature set. But yeah, I could definitely see people developing maybe newer platforms, maybe that's like like the common language runtime, which is what Microsoft uses for C Sharp, Visual Basic, F Sharp, the JVM, right? That's what allows things like Clojure to work, right? Like the Clojure is a programming language that runs on the JVM, but Java runs on the JVM, right? So that you could see stuff like that where you. But yeah, I just don't think there's ever a time where you're going to translate between all the languages. I also am not totally convinced that natural language is the right way to communicate intent when it comes to programming. I think there's something about having a syntax and a limitation in that syntax and a particular structure to that. I think there's something about having structured text that makes sense when you're building programs or doing things that are logical. I'm not necessarily sure that programming through spoken language is the right medium quite yet, you know? Um, and I'm not totally convinced we ever get to a place where that's possible. I know that's kind of like the holy grail, right? Like we're all Iron Man sitting in our rooms with all our screens, and we're talking to our Jarvis, and the Jarvis is just doing everything. Maybe we get there one day. Hello, Syntax Queen. Good to see you. You're back, and I'm getting ready to leave. Yeah. Vertical effects. Why would you want to? I honestly don't know. I just Hockey posed the question, so I was just kind of opining on what I thought. I don't know why you'd want to. Hello, Unique UX. Good to see you. Ducky Dev. I want to code Jarvis. Yeah, I mean Jarvis would be sweet. I remember watching Iron Man and thinking, God, that would be amazing. Like the first and the only time I've ever felt closer to that experience was when we bought a MetaQuest. And like putting on the MetaQuest, right? It's like obviously it's too bulky, it's too heavy, but like the ability to have the screens and but still see the world around you, and like I thought, man, if somebody can take the MetaQuest technology, stick it in something like the Meta Ray-Ban glasses, like that form factor, and then allow me to talk to something like Jarvis, like maybe we're getting closer than we think. I don't know. It's very exciting. Vertical effects. Programming isn't broken. Yeah, don't think it is either. Razzie, a fun fact about Microsoft is that the company's name is a portmanteau. I don't even know what that word is, of microcomputer and software. A name suggested by co-founder Paul Allen. The hyphen in micro-soft was later dropped. Interesting, Razzie. I think I kind of already knew that, but I appreciate you giving us a little flashback into history, a fun fact for the day. Voldy, did you try the HTC Vive? No, I've never used any other 3D or VR related stuff other than the MetaQuest that we bought for my son. But it was definitely like, wow, this is cool. Excuse me. All right, guys. Well, that's my hour for this morning. I'm gonna hop off here and keep working. Maybe take another walk around the block, and then I have to get ready for a bunch of meetings this afternoon. I won't be live this afternoon. I'll probably be live this evening. So if you're around late my time, which would be like 8 p.m. Central Standard, sometime around that 8 to 9 time window, I'll be live again. So if you're there, stop in. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a good rest of your Wednesday. And if it's already Thursday for you, I hope you have a good rest of your Thursday. And otherwise, I'll see you guys either in Discord, or maybe I'll see you in the comments of a video or short. So, bye Voldy, bye Ducky Dev, see you Vertical Effects, see you Razzie, bye Unique UX, bye Syntax Queen, bye Hockey. All right, guys, y'all have a good day. See y'all.